Hello and welcome to the Very Wool Podcast. My name is Diana Hawthorne and you can find me online as the Delaware Spinster. Today we're going to talk a lot about sleeves because I am on Sleeve Island for my striped sweater and I'm really excited about that. So I'll talk to you a little bit about how I keep myself organized and motivated when working on sleeves. But first, let's start with what I'm wearing. This is an old crocheted sweater. It may have been my first garment. I'm not positive. It was very early in my garment making. I crocheted sweaters before I could knit sweaters. And I didn't keep great records at the time. So I had started using Ravelry, but 2019 or so when I finished this, it just was not, I didn't realize how much I'd want to keep myself more organized. And I also learned something very important about free patterns from this sweater, but I'll show you the sweater first. So it's just a simple kind of shell. It's got exposed seams, which I liked, and I still think it's comfortable. I like it overall. This is modeled after a sweater that I think was called the Brick House sweater. There was a blogger that had this blog post for this sweater, and back then I used acrylic yarn. This is ZZ Twist that I got from Joann Fabric probably at the time. I still like ZZ Twist. I think it's a nice yarn. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was a Lion brand yarn. And anyway, I started using this and making this Brick House sweater, and then the blog, I guess she stopped it. So totally understandable. I'm sure something came up. And so the pattern disappeared. And if I had done the paid for pattern with the download that didn't have the ads in it, that probably was only a few dollars, I would still have it. But I hadn't done that. I was using the free blog pattern. It's okay, plenty of people do that. But what I learned was I got, just to the V-neck on one side, it's knit in pieces. So I had just done enough of the sweater that I felt committed to it and felt excited about it when I went back online and it wasn't there anymore. And after that, I just kind of had to hack it. So because I had done such a pivotal part of it, which was I think it was top down, but doing this part with the neckline, I was able to read my crochet stitches enough to replicate that on the other side. And then I made the back just a regular old rectangle. I think that's about what it was. I had to look up how to do the ribbing on another post. I found something else that was different but had a similar bottom. Anyway, so I certainly didn't design this myself and wouldn't credit myself for that, but I also didn't fully use the pattern because it was not accessible to me anymore. So I learned about using free patterns, and since then have mostly paid for patterns or downloaded them in advance. I'm a big fan of still printing patterns. I know that kind of ages me, but I do like being able to highlight and circle my size and things like that. So it is what it is. I don't wear this that often, partially because it's like a cream white kind of color. I think it washes me out a little bit as a pale person, but I also am very prone to spilling, guys. I spill on everything. I spilled on my shirt just this morning, which is why I changed shirts even. So I'm really not a person who should be making a lot of things that are purely white. And so I don't wear this that often because I'm so afraid that I'm going to spill on it. I can't recreate it. The yarn doesn't exist anymore. The pattern doesn't exist. Could I make something similar in the future? Maybe I would. Yeah. But anyway, so that's this pattern. Of note, ZZ Twist, if you're a spinner, or if you've seen that yarn, you may know what's special about it is that it's Z and Z Twist. So where most yarns that we buy commercially or that we spin tend to be Z, and then S ply. This is Z spun, and then the final ply is Z. I wondered how they could make a balanced yarn by doing that, and I deconstructed it, and it's actually 3 Z plies that were very fine that are then S twisted, or 3 Z singles that are S plied, and then those 3 plies are Z plied. So, which just has to do with counterclockwise versus clockwise spinning. So ultimately it's ZSZ, but I guess they didn't think that sounded cool. This was supposed to be better for crochet because of the fact that the final twist goes in the direction that fits well with the way that we twist yarns while we're crocheting. I think that was the idea. I like it. I actually do. I still think it's a nice yarn. I still have a little bit of stash in other colors that are going to be something else. So at any rate, I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about my striped sweater. As I said earlier, I was hoping to finish it this weekend, and I do actually think I'm going to. I'm filming on a Saturday right now. Tomorrow is Easter Sunday, if that's what you celebrate, or if that's relevant to you. It's relevant to me just in that I'm seeing my family and I have some cooking to do. So I was not sure if I was going to be able to steal an hour in the morning in order to film this and then to post it, which, you know, ultimately takes more than an hour. I kind of thought if I were to block this tonight, it would be so great to be wearing this striped sweater tomorrow. But I didn't want to put pressure on myself to the point where my muscles are sore or I cause myself repetitive motion injury or repetitive strain injury. So I just thought, you know what, take the pressure off. Let's talk about sleeves. Let's talk about where the project is right now. And then next week, for sure, I'm going to have this blocked and I'm going to be excited to wear it no matter how hot it is next weekend. So this, which I've talked about before, I'm going to try and stop the jingling. Hold on just a second. Let me just pull this back. This is the Stripes pullover by Andrea Mowry, or DreaReneeKnits. And if you have been a follower so far of my very short-lived podcast, you already know that I love DreaReneeKnits. So this is Stripes. It is a circular yoke top-down sweater. She offers multiple versions in terms of the sleeves and the body, but I'm doing the cropped body and the cropped sleeves. So here is one of my sleeves. It is pretty far along. All that I need to do is actually the final color and the ribbing, and the final color is going to be this color here, which I have a ton of and was very happy with. So, I'm going to be doing that shortly. And the other sleeve, not quite as far along. The sleeves are going to match each other, but not the body. I mean, they look nice with the body, but the sleeve, the color order is different. And I did that just because I thought it would be fun. And I thought it would still look nice, but it was more true to me to not have perfect stripes across the body and the sleeves. I kind of wanted to mix it up compared to my other striped sweaters. I wear a lot of gradient or striped sweaters. It's definitely, like, how can you just do one color all the time like this, you know? So anyway, so here's my sleeve system. I like to use light bulb stitch markers to mark my decreases. So you can see here the decreases. Now I'm doing magic loop. And you can also see in the areas where I have not yet woven in my ends, I have these holes here, no big deal. I'm very careful with that when I weave in my ends. So in the lower part where they're woven in, it looks a lot more even and I don't get those holes. I love being on Sleeve Island. I really do. I enjoy knitting the sleeves. I find that because I'm rarely doing straight sleeves. I usually have some decreases. You know, that's like a big motivator to, okay, every 6 rounds I get to put a little light bulb stitch marker where I do my decreases. I don't know, it works for me. I don't keep count when I have decreases because I just kind of, I eyeball it first. I always end up one row before, like on the 5th round. I'm like, do I have 6? Do I have 6? No, I don't. Okay. so that I know the next round I'm going to. So I do just count my stitches from the decrease or from the marker. I have a sort of system where when I'm working on the second sleeve, I move the markers, there are no markers here, to the other one when I get to that same decrease row. So especially with the stripes, it's really convenient because, for instance, I know this decrease was like the 4th round here. So when I get to the 4th round of that color, then I'll do the decrease and then I'll move the stitch marker from here to there. That's like a weird little thing that I do. I also mark my progress over the days. This is the top part as opposed to where the decreases are under the armpit part. This is the top part of the arm. And this was the day that I picked up. This was the end of the yoke, right, where it was split off. This is the day that I picked up. I did that many. The next day I worked really hard at my actual job and didn't get to knit enough, which was frustrating for me. And then this was yesterday. I did a whole bunch. This morning I got to the point where I would do the ribbing and then I stopped so that I could catch up on the other arm. So those are kind of my systems. I use the same color. Why do I have to do this? I don't know. But I use the same color ones, light bulb stitch markers, in order to mark the days on this one as well. So, you know, same thing. I had that one bad day, but this sleeve has been getting less progress because I tend to be doing mostly one and then the other. And of course, with using the same colors, these were all yarns that I had just one skein of. So I had to kind of switch back and forth on the sleeves. I did have a couple of situations. So this is a fun thing about starting a sweater in June that then you put down for 9 months and pick back up. Some of these yarns were from stash and they were commercial yarns like these two. Everything else, this is hand dyed by me, the yellow. Everything else is hand spun or hand spun held with a hand dyed yarn. So that's not true. The mohair is commercial as well. I actually got it on my trip when I had just started this yarn, or started the sweater. So most of these are hand spun still. The issue with that is then if I'm out of the fluff that I spun, like this guy, I can't make more of it. I liked this yarn. I made a tweedy fingering weight yarn that was actually 2 different fluffy bits that I had. Can't even remember what they were. They were like samples from when I bought spindles. I got various samples of things. Again, the note taking was not so good when I started. So that yarn, I really like this fingering weight yarn. I held it double for this pattern. It's kind of like a light fingering, so held double, it made a good sport weight yarn. But I got down to the end here and I wanted to do that color again because I wanted to end with this color, with this dark brown. And I felt like this was too close to these colors. And I was like, oh, I want to do this one. And I don't think I have enough. So I had to hold 1 ply of this instead of doubled, 1 ply with a ply of the alpaca that I hand spun from here. Which I will admit does not look perfectly like this. It kind of looks like I did exactly what I did, blend one of these and one of these and did it here. You know what? My husband said it's okay. So I'm just gonna go with that. He said as a knitter, he can't tell the difference. And the truth is, I think if a knitter asked me like, oh, why did you repeat this brown so close to that one? I would say, because I was running out of yarn. I didn't have enough, but it is what it is. It's not a big deal to me. I care about a lot of things a lot. I care about gauge swatches. I care about blocking. I don't care about the colors of the stripes not being perfect. So that is a nice thing that it's like, I just did it today. So I'm going to dwell on it a little bit for a day, but I already decided I'm not going to frog back. I thought about frogging this row back, frogging this one back using the gray, which is Angora and wool. And then I just thought, no, I'm not going to do it. I like it enough how it is. So I'm just going with it. I think when it's actually bound off and when I'm wearing it, you won't really be able to tell all that much. but you tell me if I made a big mistake. I still won't frog it back. So yeah, I'm really excited about this sweater. I'm very excited. Oh, the other mistake I made as an earlier spinner. So two of these yarns, this first one and this third one, they are both from wool that I got super early as a spinner. It was like I had ordered a spinning wheel. I was drop spindling, but I had ordered a spinning wheel and it was like a 6-month wait. So I was nowhere near having a wheel. I was hardly proficient with a suspended or drop spindle at the time, but I was really excited. And just like with knitting, you know, like sometimes you just get really excited about things and you just want to buy all the stuff. So I went to a local Maryland farm, Withers Wool, and I got a plain merino farm roving natural color. Absolutely loved this spin, love this yarn. Glad I have a little extra. It is so soft, and that's why I used it for the neckline because, you know, I'm really sensitive about that. And then I got a mohair and merino blend, and I got to meet her. She has goats and sheep and peacocks and all kinds of stuff. But the mohair merino blend, if you've spun, you probably know it was a little bit harder to spin than just the straight merino. Mind you, I couldn't spin either of them for a while. So I brought them home and then like couldn't do anything with them, which is fine. But when I spun the mohair, I was still relatively new to my wheel because my wheel eventually came, and I was not paying a whole lot of attention when I was spinning it. Consistency with this fiber right now, I'd be able to do it. But at the time, I was not able to be totally consistent. And then here's where I actually made a mistake. It's no big deal if you're not totally consistent in your singles, but I chain plied. I had no reason to chain ply. It seemed easier. I think I didn't have a lazy Kate maybe set up at the time. I don't think I was rewinding all of my singles onto storage bobbins. So I made this choice to chain ply because it was easier. And what that meant is that in areas where my singles were thicker, which it's almost like a gradient, this skein, as it turns out. In areas where my singles were thicker, I get this nice, really pretty full sport weight yarn. But when my singles were thinner, because I chain plying effectively, I grouped my thin singles at the one end of the bobbin and I grouped my thicker singles at the other end of the bobbin. This just looks different. It's no big deal. It is a little bit, it's a fingering weight instead of a sport weight. And I'm not holding it with anything because that would change it more than just having the slightly different thickness or grist even. So you can't tell when I'm holding the sweater far away. And honestly, it would take pretty much a spinner to recognize that this is a little bit different. And they probably would immediately know what I did, because you can also see with chain plying, you end up with those little intersections of the chains where it's a little bit thicker. I really think blocking this is going to help, but I myself, when I'm looking at the knitting, can see those little bleps where I had turned the chain. So I rarely chain ply anymore. My singles are more consistent, but when I chain ply now, it's only because I'm maintaining the color integrity of like a long gradient. So if it's a functional chain ply, or I'm getting to the end of a 3-ply yarn and I've just got one bobbin left and I'm just determined to use that last little bit of singles, which then I often use for sampling anyway, or, you know, a tiny bit of it kind of hides. So totally not a problem in terms of wearing the sweater. If I had any more of this yarn, like if I had extra, I would have skipped over the skinnier section. But I'll tell you, I am 4 rounds from done, the last of this mohair merino, and it is really not a lot. So I'm not quite playing yarn chicken. I did kind of measure. I have ways of measuring either the length or just weighing on a gram scale how much it takes to do a round. So I do know I have just enough, but I mean, I'm only going to have a yard or two extra, I think. It's really going to be pretty close. So I had to use this part of it if I wanted to do this color, and I'd already run out of a couple other colors. Anyway, so I have like a half a skein of 2 or 3 of these things, and then I've run out of 3 of them. So yeah, so anyway, it's an adventure, but I don't think anybody seeing me wearing this sweater is gonna be perceptive enough, honestly, to realize, especially after it's blocked. I think it's just gonna be like, she's wearing a striped sweater. I don't think people are gonna know at all. And even when I say that I made it, which I love telling people, I don't know that anybody's gonna be like, whatever. So that is my long saga about this striped sweater. I am very excited about it, and I fully expect to finish tomorrow. I just don't know that I'm going to finish today. So that's that. I'm going to take a sip here. So, excuse me. Okay. I'm a big tea drinker, and that was way too hot when I started. Okay. So another whip that I wanted to talk about. I have been going through my older whips since finishing the test knits and deciding not to test knit anymore, etc. I've been picking up things that I haven't been using or haven't been working on for a while. And that's been enjoyable. That's how I got back into the striped sweater, and I am finishing that. But as you know from a couple of weeks ago, I already frogged one of the whips that I had. And this is another one that I've decided to frog, and I just kind of wanted to talk about why, because I think realizing mistakes that I've made or, things that have changed for me over time is really important. It's an important part of my process. So this is a cowl that I was sort of designing, but I mean, it's not all that exciting. Okay. So here's the yarn, and yes, I have a little improvised knit cozy on it, but this is the yarn. It is hand dyed by me. It's sandstone yarn from Knomad. It was like a one-off skein that I had from a sample pack, and it's so super soft. It's superwash merino, cashmere silk, I want to say. Anyway, it's fabulously soft. Really love it. I did this sort of light, dusky purple lilac kind of color. It has pops of like a wine color and a teal and a black. Looks a little more variegated in person than it's looking on the screen, but yeah, it's pretty good. Anyway, so I was using this, and I just thought it's so soft, and I only have one skein of it, so I might as well make a cowl. So you can see, actually that looks really good right there. So I did a twisted rib, and I did like a little bit of a, I've seen other things kind of like this. It's not that innovative, but a jagged edge. So it almost looks like a crown or something. And I had planned for this to be a cowl that was going to be almost like the sock head cowl, but different kind of ribbing. And I was going to do potentially some patterning in between. But basically, I wanted it to be a full skein of this sock yarn that would just kind of wrinkle up and look nice. So it was an idea that I liked, but somehow when I've been working on it, I just have not even been interested. It's like a slog. It's just stockinette, and it's fingering weight, and I'm using, what are these? 2.5s, US 2.5, so 3mm needles. So it just has not been that exciting to me. So I'm going to try it on sort of upside down. So I can see how it looks this way, because I already tried it on the other way. Okay. So the idea was it would be the whole skein. It would get kind of wrinkly, and then it would have this ribbing for the top and for the bottom. And And honestly, when I put it on, like, yeah, it feels nice on my neck. Like, it's super silky and soft. I just was not like overwhelmed with it, you know? And I thought about it and I was like, if I gifted this to somebody and it took me forever to do this was like a luxury skein. I really liked the color of the skein that I dyed. And then I gift this to somebody and they don't wear it, I would be frustrated. And I know I'm not supposed to be. I know that I'm supposed to feel like, you know, I love this person. They deserve this gift. Who cares if they wear it or not? It was the thought that counted. I do enjoy knitting generally. But this, for some reason, it was not translating the way that I wanted it to. So I thought about like using it as a hairband or a headband or like, you know, turning that into a hat. It's a little bit too small in circumference, the way that I knit it already, to make it into a hat. Like it's large in circumference. It's doesn't have negative ease. So I kind of thought it shouldn't really be a hat. And I have a couple of cowls that are like the band style cowl that are, you know, right around your neck, same circumference. They're not redundant folded tissue like this would be. Like this would be like super thin, super soft, but then have kind of folds to it like the sockhead cowl. But I wear the ones that I have sometimes and I don't wear them that often. I'm big into shawls. I wear a lot of things that are like a cowl that's more of a kerchief kind of style, or like the triangular, bigger, fluffier cowl. So I just don't wear these straight tube cowls that much. And the truth is, I feel like I already have enough of them. So even though I kind of like this, the look of it, and I kind of like how this yarn is knitting up. I mean, I like I'll stand by my dyeing of this yarn. I like it. It's just not right for this. So I haven't entirely decided what I'm going to do with it. And for that reason, what I think I'm doing, you can tell I chose a piece of try-it-on tubing that was not big enough. I'm going to put this on a bigger piece of try-it-on tubing, and I don't think I'm going to actually frog it yet. I think what I'm going to do is think about it a little bit more, decide if there's some other way that I want to use this. And once I have a pattern or something that I want this yarn for, I'll frog it no problem. I'll frog it and I will refinish the yarn because I don't want it to be, it's been in this format for a while. So it would be kind of crazy to use this yarn without re-soaking it and re-skeining it. But I'm not going to do that right now because I'm really not sure what I would use this for. And when I'm looking at my stash, some of my stash that's like unassigned behind me, I just don't know what it would go with well enough. Although, as I was grabbing this to talk about it, I also wanted to talk about one other sort of whip that I'm working on that actually goes with this very well in terms of color, but is not a yarn that I necessarily want to use this with. So here is why I'm going to kind of save this and set this aside and not actively search for a project for it right now. So Andrea Mowry, here we go again with Andrea. This is like a fan podcast for Andrea Mowry, but she is doing all year a Traveler spin along, knit along. So all of her Traveler patterns, which are newer, you know, including the Traveler shell, which is one of the ones that I'm working on, but what I'm going to talk about now, all of those patterns are sort of part of this knit along. So I have decided that it's supposed to be 2 lace weight yarns. She used merino lace weight and then Suri alpaca lace weight from, I want to say La Bien Amie for her original Traveler shell. I'm spinning one of them, but you know what? I really just can't spin lace weight Suri alpaca silk. So I'm dyeing that. So I dyed 4 skeins. This is actually 2 skeins together. 4 skeins of this super soft. This is the same thing I used for my Evanescence. It's the Knomad yarn Pluma. So it's like 70% Suri alpaca, 30% silk, something like that. So super soft, definite lace weight. Coincidentally, did not realize it because this was still in a box up in the corner, but pretty similar to this. So if I have extra of this, I just might do a small project that's this and this. So that's kind of why I'm thinking I'm going to set this aside and not really do much with it right now. But if I don't have extra, it is what it is. I dyed 4 skeins that are a little bit variegated, but they're pretty consistent. It's a tonal yarn. It's sort of a dusty mauve. Is that an unappealing way to describe it? I don't know. Lavender haze, if you want to be fancy. And I'm holding that. This is going to be super subtle. This is the squishiest yarn that I'm making. So this is from fleeces that, mostly fleeces that I've cleaned. So, so there's a lot of rambouillet. Love a rambouillet. There's a lot of, there's Polwarth. That was like an oatmeal kind of a color. The rambouillet was white. And then I got a little more of the brown from merino. That was like a roving that I got. And what else? A little bit of horn Dorset that I cleaned. So this ended up being just under, it's a 3-ply and it's not quite fingering. It looks really fluffy, so it looks kind of like fingering, but it's more of a lace weight when you actually knit it. So you can get a look at that. It's obviously woolen spun. I carded it on my Clemens & Clemens drum carder, and I have a bunch of these bats, and they're just so squishy. Oh my goodness, so squishy. I wish you could squish them. I really do. And also next to skin soft, because they're mostly fine wools. And even a downy wool like the Dorset, I find often for me is next to skin soft. I luckily am very tolerant of mohair and alpaca and even medium wools. So yeah, I love this. This is the only skein of it I have so far. I'm spinning more. I've got a lot more singles that would be ready to ply, but I'm trying to wait at the end. This is like my sample skein. So this held with this. You can see how it's going to be really subtle and nice, but it's just going to make it, it's going to make this a little bit more exciting because I tend to get, I love natural colors, but like when it's just almost white, I mean, this is like an oatmeal is what I was going for. Oatmeal, just about as exciting as dusty mauve. Why do I like these colors? I love these colors. I'm very excited about it, but I love holding yarn together. I love holding yarn double because first of all, the marling makes the hand spun a little bit more even and makes it look, it hides inconsistencies and imperfections in where I have like, I might have some color pooling. Even though I tried to blend these bats really well and spin it really consistently. And it also just makes the knitting go by a little bit faster because when you're holding things double, then you are using a bigger needle, right? So anyway, so I've already swatched this, but I swatched it with some of this and undyed Pluma. So then it's not exciting to look at in the swatch. That helped me decide what color I wanted to dye my Pluma. So, yeah, I'm probably gonna start soon, but I want to have a couple more skeins worth, at least spun into singles so that I don't get to a situation like some of the other sweaters that I've told you about where I spun stuff and I started knitting and then months later came back to spinning and knitting, and that leads to inconsistencies. So that's what's happening there. So technically this knit along is going until next February. So I've got plenty of time for this. I really do want to cast it on, but I also am trying to have some restraint and think about my whips more. And yeah, I'm trying to have more of this spun. So this is one of my high priority spins right now, in addition to the teal sweater spin that's really for a dress for my mom. So I think that's it for whips, and I didn't really have any finished objects, but one other thing that I wanted to talk about, I did not have any acquisitions to share in the last couple of podcasts, and I don't have any new yarn, but I got, in the latest Hoey & Co. update, I got this adorable envelope bag. It's a crossbody envelope bag that you can fold out this way or differently, and around the house I just kind of carry it from this closure strap. So anyway, I was hoping for an envelope bag for a while. I like Hoey's bags, and I liked the envelope, and I like wearing a crossbody out around town. Of course, for a knitting project, I kind of turned it into my purse too. But anyway, so I was excited about that. And right now it has a yarn in it that I also wanted to talk about. This was like a reacquisition in my stash. I don't know about you, but sometimes I am not the best at keeping things organized, and I do a lot of projects that are marled, that are scrappy, that are using up a lot of different yarns, like stash busting. So I had this in a stash busting pile for my night shift, and it didn't quite go with the night shift. So this is Shalimar. It's a DK weight. I don't remember. I'm going to put the details in the description box, by the way, but Breathless, Shalimar Breathless, I want to say. So I don't have a local yarn shop right now, but I had a local yarn shop near me that closed in December. And when they were getting close to closing, they were doing a lot of different sales, and like they were just trying to get rid of inventory basically. And I should have seen the writing on the wall a little bit sooner, but at some point they had these bagged selections, brown bag, sealed. You couldn't see what was inside, and it was like a deal to get, I don't remember what exactly I paid for it and how much was in there, but I think it was like you pay $25 and you have $50 worth of yarn inside or something, but sight unseen. So I got one of these things. I don't tend to do that much anymore. Like it wouldn't be something I would do today because I've got plenty of yarn in stock. But at some point months ago, I did this, and I got 2 skeins of this. And it is a color that, although if you look at my craft room door, looks like I love this color, I don't love it on me. It's not my best color. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not that bad, but it's not, I don't know. It's very brilliant blue. It's like a royal blue. It's a blue. It's not warm enough for me, I think. So I had no idea what to do with this, and it was not a yarn that I've ever actively sought out before. I tend to use a lot of fingering weight, partially because I marl everything, but and I just like thinner fabrics. I don't use a ton of DK. I had nothing to use this with, and I just kind of thought, like, I like it enough to keep it. It's soft, but I wasn't sure what to do with it. And then it was in my pile to potentially be used for the night shift. And today I was thinking about what I was going to use another yarn for, another one-off skein that's a little bit different because it was a Hedgehog Fibers potluck skein. So it's absolutely beautiful. The fact that it's one skein is kind of irrelevant because it's so fabulous. It's a cashmere. So I was searching in my stash on Ravelry for that yarn, and I typed in cashmere, and this came up, and I was like, what? This is merino, cashmere, and silk. And I was like, what? I didn't even realize. No wonder it's so soft. I kind of thought it was like an acrylic and merino blend or something. Like, I just didn't think you would put a cashmere, even cashmere blend, in like a bag that was a how am I trying to say, like a discount yarn bag? So I was not paying attention. I had thrown out the ball band for this because it was all messed up. This yarn's obviously a little bit old, but it's in good shape. It just, the ball bands were kind of ripped, which might have been why they were in the discount bin. It might be really old. I don't know. But I was like, this has cashmere in it. So I'm going to make Jessie Made Designs Ripple Bralette with this, because a bralette that I could wear under something like this, or under something, you know, a bathrobe or whatever. A bralette is not really what people in public are going to see me in, so it doesn't matter if it's not the most flattering color. My husband's going to like it anyway. I'm going to like it anyway, and it's so soft. And I was like, I can't believe I was so dismissive of this yarn, so now I'm really excited about it. I even didn't cake it well. Like, look at this kind of laziness. That's shame on me. So this is actually a nice yarn, because it's under a little bit of tension the way that I caked it. I'm probably going to rewind it, recake it. And I might cast that on soon because I own that pattern, and I haven't actually made any of Jessie Made Designs patterns, but when she had a birthday recently, I bought a bunch of her patterns that I've just had my eye on for a long time. So I think I'm going to make myself like a really cute bralette with this cashmere, because what else should cashmere be for but for like a cowl that we discussed I don't really need, or for a bralette. So that's my thought. I don't have enough for a shirt, but I certainly have enough for something like a camisole, or as it were, the Ripple DK bralette. So that's my plan for my Shalimar yarn, and I will post a lot of these details in the descriptions below. If you have any questions or feedback, please share. I read all the comments. And if you are interested in following along, like, subscribe. I'm here, and I will post again next weekend.